So retirement is different for each of us. We each decide to retire at different times in our lives and for different reasons. Some of us are stuck in a loop. We work and work and work and you know, at some point along the way, we had those thoughts and dreams of what we wanted to do in retirement and how we wanted retirement to look. But then, you know, things keep coming up. Work, home, family, life. Okay? So let's talk about life for a minute. Because we live our lives and, you know, we get tied up in things like some people, their work is their life. They can't separate the two, right? So when they get up in the morning, they're thinking about going to work. And then you have to keep in mind that original thought of retirement, because you go to work to make money, to afford things, to have a decent life. But you should not be working and forget what your goals are in life, because life is the key, not work, life. As you move through with that goal of retirement in mind, now you might, pick up a second career, do some things on the side, hustle a little bit. All of this comes into building your life, getting ready for retirement. Some of us forget all about it. And then one day we just wake up and go, oh, shucks, I forgot to prepare for retirement. And for those of us who did that, then it becomes a struggle from that point forward. I spoke to a woman yesterday morning. I was calling a customer service line about a problem I was having with something. And I was trying to get an answer for it. And this woman I spoke to, she, we got through with the conversation, the answers. And so she asked me at the end, she goes, where do you work? And I thought it was an odd question, but I answered her. I said, I'm retired. And she goes, oh, that must be nice. And I kind of, like I just did, chuckled a bit. And I said, well, I'm 67 years old. And she goes, well, sir, I'm only a few years younger than you. And I just don't know when I'm going to be able to quit working. And I didn't know how to respond to that other than to say, well, I'm sorry. I guess I'm blessed. And I hope that you'll find a way to retire soon. In 2012, my wife, who's a Filipina, she grew up in the Philippines. She left when she was 14 years old. Her mother and stepfather, who was in the Navy, same branch I served in, they moved to the United States. So she finished high school there. And, I met her later on in life. She was in her early 20s when I met her, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, she told me, she said, babe, if we retire now, we can move to the Philippines and we could live very comfortably. And she said, you can have a driver, I can have a maid, blah, blah, blah. She was going on. And I was thinking, yeah, you're just thinking about, material stuff. And that was it. So at that point, I was 58 years old. And I went home that evening and I was thinking on my way home, oh man, I've done this now. What am I going to do in retirement? How is this going to work? I mean, how am I going to keep myself occupied? Because I ain't going to go home and just sit at home anyway. So what come out of that was I get home. I told the wife what had happened. We discussed it. And she was at first she was like, you did it? I can't believe you did it. I said, yeah, babe, I did it. So after that sunk into her head, I remember waking up mornings because we had already downsized from the house because, like as I said, we had already been discussing retirement, and we were living in a condo at the time, right? We knew it was temporary. We just didn't know how long until I had done that. And so I would wake up in the morning and I would just sit and look out the window near the balcony and just look at people getting up in the morning driving off to work while I was having my coffee. And so the funny thing is that's the same thing I did when I first retired from the military. For the first about 2 months, I just kind of took that time off to spend with my family and help my kids get reacclimated and everything because we moved from Mississippi to Illinois. And so that's what I would do in the morning. I would get up in the morning, and while I was having my coffee and the kids were getting ready, I would look out my window and watch people go to work. I don't know why that's funny to me, but anyway, so I did that for a few days. And then I started getting serious about things. And I said, hey, babe, so when are we going to leave this cold climate? Because I want to get out of here. So, we were kind of like there in Vegas by ourselves. So, the wheels started turning again, right? Long story short, that was when the ideas popped back up about the Philippines. Hey, so here we are. We're in a rental now. This rental will suffice for the next year or two while we get more acclimated here and do some more traveling and see some more places and get to the point where we can find we figured out what area we actually want to be in, which island and what place on which island we want to be, and get with some real estate agents or someone to find some land and build our own home, because that's what we eventually want to do, is build our house here. So this is where we are now. But as I was saying in the beginning, I know it took a long time to get here, was that it started out with retirement. So this is one of the things that I've had always wanted to do. My first time in the Philippines was December 2nd, 1977. I will never forget it. And anybody that's known me for any period of time probably has heard me talk about my first time in the Philippines. I fell in love with it, but I also was abhorred. I was devastated the first time I went out in town in the Philippines, because I was in the Navy, and we were on a naval base. But when I went out in town, the poverty just kind of clubbed me across the head. It didn't smack me, it didn't hit me. It clubbed me across the head because it was so devastating. But I had some thoughts behind that. And beyond, with all that poverty, the people, they seemed to smile every day, all the time. They were gracious. They were nice. They would invite me into their homes offer me food, and in my mind I would think maybe I should buy some food for you. But I didn't say that out loud. But people, I mean, when you went out and did projects out in town or was just out doing whatever you were doing and you met people and they invited you into their homes, man, just the sincere and gracious attitudes that they had. It was very inviting. And I met some very nice people that I wish I had stayed in touch with. But, you know, it's kind of hard to stay in touch with people back then, 70s, 80s. There were no cell phones. There was, you know, things were totally different. And again, there's that poverty. So there are some beautiful places. There are some very, very nice places. There's some places you can go to here, and you would think that you were in the U.S. until you looked around and saw that all the people were, you know, Filipino, or, you know, sprinkled in there's expats like myself and other folks from different Western countries and stuff, and other countries around the world. But the Philippines is, it's depending on where you choose to live, it can be very nice. But here, you can come here, being middle class in America, and come here, and you find yourself on the higher tiers of the income. You wouldn't be anywhere near what's rich over here, because I'm gonna tell you, they got some rich people. They got billionaires over here. They got millionaires over here. In this subdivision that I live in, there's a lot of middle class Filipinos here that are doing quite well. So don't think you're gonna come over here and just be the top of the heap with your middle class income. So don't come here looking down on nobody, because there are people here who earn more than you and have had money longer. Okay, I'm serious. There are. So anyway, I've said enough, and so now I'm just gonna say, love yourself. Remember to look out for your fellow man. Help each other out in your communities. And remember that none of us can do it all by ourselves. God is the reason why I am here today, because I've had a bunch of friends in my lifetime, and a lot of them are gone. I just found out this morning that another good friend of mine who I hadn't seen in years and I hadn't talked to since earlier this year passed away back in May, and I didn't know about it. You know, his wife got in touch with me and said, "Hey, I'm sorry that you had to find out this way, blah, blah, blah." And I just, wow, you know, I knew this guy, and I think he was a couple of years younger than me. But we served together in the Navy. So I've been knowing him for well over 24 years. It's probably close to like maybe 28 to 30 years since we had met. It was back in the 90s. But I'm saying that to say that, you know, take your life seriously. You know, don't let your job work you. You work it. And build yourself a career. And keep revisiting the idea of retirement, because eventually either you will get to the point where you're at retirement, whether it's forced or, you know, something you choose. And then you need to be prepared with what you're going to do in retirement. You know, how do you want to live it? Everybody has a different idea of what's comfortable, but you know what you want. And if you continue in that mindset, you'll have a decent retirement. I'm enjoying the heck out of mine. That's pretty much it. That's all I got for you. As I always like to say, you know, God is love, And if you love your neighbor as you love yourself, you'll do the right things. Peace out.